Hello and welcome back. In our last video, we went through some theory when it came to Azure and Azure resources, right? Let's go ahead and walk through some practical examples. I find no matter how much theory you go through, until you walk through practical examples, mess things up and figure out why things got messed up, you don't really learn. Learning is actually the process of learning what mistakes not to make rather than knowing what to do, or at least in my opinion. Anyways, let's go ahead and walk through making an Azure account. We have right here some pretty easy steps. We go to azure.com, we click free/pay-as-you-go, and then we register. Let's walk through that. On my other screen, I've already done a quick, I think this is, I don't know what they call it Bing. Bing. So I did a quick Bing search for Azure. And of course, the first result was Azure. And in my case, I'm going to be giving it my credit card. So we click pay as you go, and then you just sign in. And let's see here. You enter your email address, you enter your password, and you'll walk through the registration process. I've already done this, and I don't have any more email addresses to throw into this. So we shall be, well, I'll make a big assumption here that you can read the on-screen directions that pop up after this and register your account. If you cannot, let me know in the comment section below and I'll re-edit this video and include that portion. Otherwise, we are moving forward. Having assumed you've already registered your account, let's go ahead and log in. I created an email address just for this. So let's do this. I'm gonna have to blur this out so you guys can't peep at my details. The cool thing about owning your own domain is that you can actually set this up as it would be in a proper corporate environment. And of course, when you create this account, it's going to want you to set up some type of 2FA. So let's see what it does here. Yeah. Oh, I was getting worried. So it wants me to authenticate. Give me just one moment here, boys. And there you go. You are now signed in to your first subscription. Okay, so it seemed like it opened up a URL I was poking around earlier instead of the default homepage. So to get back home, you click the hamburger menu in the upper left-hand corner, and then you click home. Once we get to home, we'll want to create our first tenant. If we go to Microsoft Enter ID tenants, and then we go to Manage Tenants, you'll see that it gave us a default tenant when we first created this account. And this default tenant's name is azadmin, whatever you call it, right? What you want to do is create a new Entra ID tenant. So I just tried to go and create a tenant, and it says we must have a paid license to create a tenant. So it seems creating a tenant is a feature reserved for licensed users. The more you know. Give me just a moment. I'm going to go and get this account licensed and give Microsoft some money, and then we shall continue this lesson. We are back, and we now have our azadmin account created. This time with a P1 license. Basically, what you have to do is you have to go to either 365 Admin Center or you have to go to Entra, and you have to create a P1 licensed user. During that process, you're going to inadvertently create your own on Microsoft domain. So that is why we couldn't create our Entra domain using that account. Now, one solution is to just skip the Entra domain because you do get a default one, and you can just go ahead and follow the user and group steps that are about to follow. Another solution is to do what I did and go to Entra and make another account and give them your credit card details, and they'll charge you $6 a month for this feature. For the sake of these videos, I'm willing to pay that $6 a month. Microsoft now has my $6, and we can proceed with the rest of this video. Inside of Azure, you can go ahead and you can go to Microsoft Tenants, then go to Manage Tenants, then click Create New. Choose Microsoft Entra ID, and then we're going to call this, let's see, azad.lowspec.labs. We'll call this azad.lowspec.labs. And we're going to go back and delete this later, but for right now, this should be good enough. Let's go back. The domain must be alphanumeric. Okay, azad. There we go. So apparently we cannot include a dot or special characters inside of our domain. And then we create. And that is it. That is how you create an Entra domain. We wait for this to finish up. So Azure looks like it bugged out. Let's see if it made our domain. We'll go to Manage Tenants. and refresh. And as you can see, we now have another tenant called AZAD Low Spec Labs. All right. And there you go. That is how you create your tenant. Next, we're going to figure out how to create users. To create users in Azure Active Directory is pretty straightforward. All you have to do is click the search bar and type in users, all users. We then click create a new user. We'll call this one test1. And then of course we're going to give it our domain. And then the display name is going to be test1. You can have it set a password or give it your own password. I'm going to give it a password that is not auto-generated. Next we click properties, test1. Normally you would fill these fields out. So test, company is test, department is test, employee ID is test, type is test, hire date is today, office location is test, 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 test. And imagine I fill the rest of those out. After that, we simply create the user and we hit create. And creating a user in Azure AD is as simple as that, assuming you have your licenses properly set up first. So how do we create a security group now that we've created our test users? Well, first you'll search for groups and choose the first options. You'll click new group. We'll call this test group. The description is test. We'll choose the group membership type, which is assigned. We'll choose the owner, which is AZ admin. And then we'll choose the members, which are the test users we created earlier. And then we'll hit select, and then we hit create. And there we go. We have just created our first Azure AD group. And that is it, boys. That is how you create an Entra tenant, create your users, and create a group. Not too complicated. Would you be surprised if I told you it took me like an hour for me to figure out what was going on with the licensing issue? And there you go, boys. Thank you for tuning in. As always, if you like this content, please hit the like button. If you want to see more, please subscribe.